Welcome to this episode of Talk Commerce. Today I have Jorrit Steinz. He is the CEO of ChannelEngine, and by the way, the best stroopwafels you can get at any conference. Jorrit, go ahead and give us a better introduction. Tell us your day-to-day role and one of your passions.
Yes, thanks a lot. I'm the founder and CEO of ChannelEngine, marketplace integration, nowadays multi-channel integration solution and management suite. So we connect more than 1,300 marketplaces worldwide. Think of Amazon, Walmart, but also Zalando and many others. We connect TikTok Shop, but also, and that's going to be one of the topics of this podcast, Agentic commerce is coming. So one of my passions is e-commerce for a long time. Otherwise, I would have quit because you must love it. Otherwise, you're going to hate it. And one of the other passions is outdoor sports. So there's kite surfing, snowboarding, mountain biking, just to clear the mind and enjoy nature.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're my second kite surfing, I think, in at least 2 weeks. So I haven't tried kite surfing. I might be a little bit too old for it now, but I should never say that, right?
No, you're not.
I've been
It's like,
trying to.
this is a signal.
Yes, it is definitely a signal. I've been trying to learn how to surf, so that's a lot of challenge.
That's a good start.
Just that part. That's great. All right, so Jorrit, before we do get started, and we're going to talk about Agentic, and I'm really looking forward to talking about that today. But I do this thing called the Free Joke Project. So I'm going to tell you a joke. You just give me a rating 8 through 13, and I kind of wish I would have brought. I've found a stroopwafel joke, but I don't have one. But anyway, here we go. One spelling mistake can ruin your marriage. I accidentally texted my wife, "I'm having a great time. I wish you were her."
Yeah, politically correct, that would be an 8, but I think it's funny. It's funny.
Good. Yeah. I mean, nobody talks about politically correct. In fact, I just wrote an art. I do a lot of vibe coding with Claude, and I've been to so many conferences in Europe, and the Dutch and the Germans are always so liberal in using language that maybe the U.S. or Americans wouldn't use in their vernacular. I think it's super fun and interesting to talk about what is politically correct in speaking, and what does it mean when you're speaking English. But that's another complete topic. Let's talk a little bit about how people connect and how important it is now to connect all these different channels into one spot. And then let's kind of loop in Agentic on that. Kind of give us the 10,000 foot view of ChannelEngine and how it solves a lot of problems.
Yeah, so I think over the past 5, 6, 7 years, and even before that, marketplace came up with Amazon being first and eBay popping up, opening up for typically smaller sellers that came on board, or retailers started selling on those marketplaces as a third-party seller. But it's shifted more and more to brands that start selling directly on the marketplaces to either backfill or augment their collection, where Amazon didn't buy everything from their assortment, and they have the opportunity to sell direct to the consumers. And that started expanding because a lot of retailers are now also opening up marketplaces as well. See, a lot of retailers didn't want to have that many products on the balance sheet. So they're opening up a marketplace, and that means an opportunity for a brand, but also a challenge. So it's not one marketplace and your own D2C shop, but it's 2 or 3 or 5. We have customers doing 60 or 70 marketplaces with a small team, and that means you need to start synchronizing. Get the product information out there, and they have different requirements of titles, descriptions, images, attributes, and that's where the journey starts, because then the marketplace needs to know how many items do you have in stock. When you sell something on Walmart, you need to take it off of Amazon, you need to take it off your Shopify store, then the orders needs to be shipped. So all that synchronization and management is done in ChannelEngine, and we have customers using us worldwide, North America, Latin America, Europe, Middle East, Southeast Asia at scale. And so it's getting more and more important. And then you see all social commerce becoming transactional, and then the AI agents are coming up. How do you sell there and make sure if a transaction takes place that also is fulfilled through your own data or warehouse?
Yeah, and it really is becoming then every agent is potentially a purchaser or a channel in which you could buy. And I know that I've seen Perplexity has cards already that would allow you to go through. And I think ChatGPT has big aspirations of just letting you buy in-app. And I'm sure that you can buy an app in a lot of these things already. So talk about how the channels now are really maybe not taking away from your website, but allowing you to have more opportunities to find clients, right?
Yes, I think especially in the discovery phase, I'm using it as well. In the discovery phase, comparing certain products, you can use natural language, and that helps. In ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, you will get recommendations, including reviews, and you can talk to the agent. And then ideally, it also knows the best price, which shop is selling it, which brand is selling it, and do they have inventory and can they ship to your location? And it's all coming together. And now most of these LLM agents are scraping the internet. Sometimes it's outdated information. It's getting better and better at every time, but it's all opening up now. Perplexity was the first, but ChatGPT did it at scale with the Agentic commerce protocol, where you can actually feed the information into ChatGPT with a combination of data feeds. And then there's a connection to the APIs of the seller. So we are connected to various integrations for ChatGPT, Copilot is going to launch, and others will follow suit, where you actually transact within the chat interface. And then a payment is created in Stripe or a Gen or PayPal, and the authentication token can go to us, and we can verify that it's actually paid. And then it's just like a marketplace where it can be shipped. I think there's one distinct difference between a marketplace like Amazon and how the chat agents approach it, is that the payment is going on Amazon is going to Amazon themselves, and they pay it out without their fees. And with the ChatGPT, Copilots, etc., they are using the merchant's payment account. So it's a Stripe, a Gen, or other payments account. So the money directly goes to the merchant, and then they get an invoice for the referral.
You did. So one of the things you mentioned is that kind of feed, right? And you do both sides. You pull in the information, but you also push it, right? And I think the concept of how you're going to push data into, say, ChatGPT it's not complete yet. Give us some background on that. Is there a feed that you can already push into ChatGPT that merchants should already be looking at?
It's ready on our side, but ChatGPT needs to open it up. So the direct checkout, and they are still in their pilot phase with Etsy. I know the first shops on Shopify are integrated, but they open sourced the integration protocol. So we know exactly what the definitions are, and a lot of people forget typically a data feed, a product feed is title, images, attributes. But there's way more context that any platform needs. Is do you have it in stock? Where can you ship it? What is the price? In which currency for that region? So more data awareness is also fed into the data feeds, and then there needs to be the connection to the payment provider to complete the circle. And then once this is all live, these chat interfaces need to compete for stock versus all the other platforms. So if you have inventory, I don't know, 100 items, 100 keywords in stock, you can sell it on your own D2C shop, on Amazon, on Walmart, on Nordstrom, Target, as well as ChatGPT, as well as Copilot. And then depending on where somebody orders, we need to update the stock on all these different platforms. Otherwise, you're going to oversell. So that's something to keep in mind. And then also strategically, if you only have 1 or 2 items left, are you going to reserve it for the LLMs? Or are you going to reserve it just for your own D2C site? So where do you expect the consumer to be, the new consumer that you want to win, that you want to get into your post-purchase funnel to be able to retarget? So it's a strategic bet, but very much an operational thing as well.
Yeah, and the complexity just has gone through the roof, right? Just in making sure that you're managing all those different, even inventory levels. I interviewed Sharon Gee from Big Commerce, or from Commerce, they call it nowadays.
Yep.
And maybe you should if you should consider just renaming your company Channel or Engine, right? But that's a different topic. One thing she said is for LLMs to discover you have to have so much more data and context to run your product. Yes. Are you seeing now merchants going to and adding much more data to every single product?
Absolutely. For some, it's hard because they have hundreds of thousands of SKUs. For some brands, it's easier. And you see that for LLMs to give a good recommendation, questions and answers are essential. Not only to directly feed in the LLMs, but also if you sell on your own D2C shop, because LLMs will index your site. And so the better you can answer the questions for your product, the more likely you are to float up into the conversations. And of course, the reviews are a big part of that as well.
Yeah. Are you seeing the ability, I think one shortcut would be to use your existing data to create more questions and answers on your data and use that, and then maybe have a human. We'll always have a human go back and review it later because it does get a little crazy. But is that one of the methods you're seeing merchants do?
Yes, absolutely. And you can look at returns, for instance. What are they saying? Look at reviews. Reviews are something of a very valuable part because those are the typical things I mentioned that are not in the product description yet. You can extract data from the images. You see you can add a lot more context, brand-related context that is applicable to all the different items. Whether a brand is fully sustainable, put it in the product description as well. That is fed into your D2C shop, marketplaces, and so that's feeding a lot. And like you mentioned, there's a lot of AI that is helping product descriptions, titles, descriptions. Be careful with attributes because AI, although the number of hallucinations is smaller, always check for hallucinations. For instance, battery life on your watch. If it says 3 weeks and it's actually 3 days, be careful with that. Easy way to circumvent that is have 2 or 3, specifically 3 LLMs do the same attribute, and then see if there's an overlap. And if it's fully overlapped, it's fine, because the chance of all 3 hallucinating is 0.
Yeah, well, it's not quite 0, but it could be 0. The other method I've heard many of the new AI or AI SaaS platforms doing is having gateways in which you'd have a check and a check and a check. So maybe you'd go through run iteration and then it would go back and check to make sure that that the data matches what you're saying and making sure that it goes through there. The question answer is that do you, from the LLM discovery standpoint, and this is probably not really in your wheelhouse, but where it lands on the page, does it matter for an LLM? It's at the bottom of the page, at the top of the page?
Within the LLMs, the ranking we don't know yet, because it definitely depends also on the user context. Because if I'm using it already to discover information of what I have to buy, and it also takes a lot of things into account it knows about me. And so there's already some sort of personalization. I heard an interview with the SE from Amazon saying, well, there's no personalization. Well, it is, because ChatGPT knows a hell of a lot about people. So there's personalization already. I don't know yet how we can influence with ad spend and sales velocity and all the stuff we know from marketplaces. And so that's to be discovered.
Yeah,
and you need to know is, are your products there with enough rich content as possible?
So, we kind of started off with Agentic, and I think the ultimate vision of Agentic is that the client will then, the consumer will deploy an agent that would scrape the internet for where they want to buy, and then come back and say, hey, I found these 3 things. Would you like to buy this? Or even at some point, and I think in the B2B world, at some point, you're going to deploy an agent who's going to go and then shop at 3 different places and then buy something for the to procure it, right? So I think that's where we're going. Have you seen anybody doing that yet?
No, not at this scale. So you've seen pilots. I know Google, so Gemini, instead of having the checkout there where they send it in through an API, they're actually shopping for you on the shops. I don't know if they keep on doing it. So that's one option, but I think there will be more and more of these agents, especially for repeating purchases. Agents will be able to buy it for you. My thesis would be that the agent will not have to do it on the shop front ends itself because they don't need it. So it will be probably through Agentic Commerce Protocol or an HTTP. So different protocols to get that going without needing the front end that has had a lot of time with UX and UI. They don't need it. They just need the data and the transaction.
Yeah, and do you think, so you did mention you don't really need the front end, but I think that a lot of this is going towards an API feed to an LLM rather than scraping it, right? That makes it much more efficient for the internet.
Absolutely. Even. And that's prepared already.
Yeah, and I think that now it's up to the platforms themselves to give endpoints specifically for LLMs to find them. Do you see maybe search going that way too, and Google looking at API endpoints as a place to discover items rather than simply scraping the front end of the internet?
Yeah, the fun thing is over the years we've had APIs, but for product content, the most used is data feeds, whether it's an XML, JSON, CSV, and that gets updated every 15 minutes, an hour, depending on how often it's needed. And over the years, also Google Merchant Center has drawn in all these product feeds. Bing has done so. All the comparison sites, so very common practice. And you see that happening with the LLMs as well. So ChatGPT, you can look up the specifics of the data feeds they're expecting. So it's also a product feed, which is pretty old technology, but it works. One advantage of those product feeds is they don't need that structure in terms of mapping it to their taxonomy, their attribute fields like any marketplace, because it's AI. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I gave a talk at a conference a couple of years ago just around the idea that most merchants are still just putting, say, 10 bullet points on their product with the price, and that's what you buy, right? I think consumers we're okay with that, but that's not okay at all anymore. Maybe we just kind of finalize our conversation today around the need to always enrich your data and always be asking, does my data have enough? And maybe a scale in which you'd look and say, what is the minimum amount of data that I need, right? on a product page.
Yeah, I think attributes play a very important role. Battery life, diameter, processing speed, all those kind of things are typically mapped towards marketplace where you use those filters on the left. But still, these attributes matter for LLMs as well. So you need to provide some more context. But I would say it's the same as trying to answer as many questions as a person would ask in a physical store to a salesperson, or at least an advisor, not just someone working at the store. And really in-depth knowing the product. Where would you use it? How does it compare to others? Why is it better? And I think all these things need to be in the product content page. So there will be way richer content than it was before. So that's it's going to be an interesting challenge to do that at scale. And that's where AI tools can help out, but then you need to validate that it's correct.
Yeah, and attributes sort of work like the parameter inside of an LLM, where it's a connection point in which you can get data. And then there's there's different types of attributes. There's mapped attributes that would map to just a single drop-down item, or you'd have a text-based attribute. And I know if you looked at a PIM, the hardest thing to try to manage is text-based attributes, but I also think now LLMs are going to make text-based attributes easier to manage in the future, right?
Yes, and we do it as well. So in ChannelEngine, we've got a lot of text-based attributes coming in, and they can be in different languages with slashes and different materials, for instance, and the marketplace have their own requirements. And mapping between the two, use AI for that. It makes it much easier, and we just get a recommendation, and all you have to do is validate and click on OK. So that saves a lot of annoying work to do. And going forward, we want for some customers to enable them to just do it on autopilot. I verified first, 100 or 10. I'm okay with it. I trust it.
Do you think that maybe important, the more important things in your tech stack is going to be your PIM, your product information management system, rather than your e-commerce front end?
Yeah, of course, I'm gonna say that the marketplace integration solution is the most important one, but that's definitely that needs the data coming out of the PIM system. So you need both. So ChannelEngine gets a product syndication, but without having the product information, there's not much to syndicate.
Got it.
And only having it in your PIM, not getting it out there, is also
yeah, exactly. So, Jorrit, we do have a few minutes left. As we close out the podcast, I give everybody a chance to do a shameless plug about anything they'd like. What would you like to plug today?
Yeah, so if you're serious about e-commerce and the changing landscape, whether you're a big company that needs to adjust quickly and doesn't want to rely on purely ERP and PIM system, you need a flexible solution. And that also is enterprise grade, but allows you to pop on new marketplace, test it out, be on agentic commerce as quick as possible without disrupting all your operational flows, then give our team a call. And also the last plug is got a lot of insightful information, great guides, ebooks, research reports that are interesting for anyone to download from our website.
That's perfect. And I'll make sure we get it's channelengine.com, right?
Correct.
We make sure we get all those into the show notes.
Jorrit ChannelEngine.ai, you'll end up at the same
either one, right? All right, perfect. Jorrit Steinz is the founder and CEO of ChannelEngine. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks a lot, Brent.